Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, and the big dog is back, baby. But today, we will be giving you a roundup of all the latest transfer news and club news as well. And literally just fresh off the bat, we'll be going into a bit on Joe Rodon, who will be leaving Tottenham Hotspur. Plenty more to get through as well. The latest on the Celso, Sergi Reguilon. Maybe a little chat on Dane, Scarlett as well, Harry Winks. So we do have quite a lot to get through. But I do want to kick this show off by saying a big happy birthday to my beloved Harry Kane. What a man, what a hero, what a legend. Happy birthday, big man. I hope you had a good day. But Jack, look, I think we'll just pass it over to you, my man. We can get it started. But actually, quickly, before we do, everyone make sure you smash that like button. You know, take your mood out on that, baby. Just give it a love tap. You know, smash it. It doesn't matter what you do. Just press it. As well, at any point, guys, sometimes we do get good numbers here. Sometimes we don't. But sometimes the chat can get hot and heavy. Don't be afraid to get your thoughts in a super chat. It really helps everything we're trying to do here. But it also highlights your comment and we'll get straight to your point and have a good discussion on it. And if you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Well, actually, you can't come in without doing it. That's the new rules that were set. So you already have done if you're here. So look, Jacko, over to you, my man. Let's get into it.
It's good to have you back, Dave. And yeah, let's get into it. We're going to do Joe Rodon first, everybody. Fresh off the press, you could say, fresh off Fabrizio Romano's Twitter. Nice and hot, Dave. Fabrizio Romano saying Rennes are set to sign Joe Rodon on loan from Tottenham. Deal expected to be completed soon. Been told that the deal also includes a buy option worth around 20 million euros, and the deal is at the final stages. This was first called and reported by Mike McGrath, while the Arthur teacher deal or theater deal completed medical tests with Rennes today. So, Dave, Joe Rodon, apparently coming in to be the new center back, at least on loan, for a season, with Rennes. Do you think Joe Rodon could do well in Ligue 1, and could he do well enough for Rennes to trigger that buy option of 20 million euros?
First of all, I want to say a big up to Paratici, for even getting 20 million euros if he does do well. That's absolutely genius. You're talking about a guy that has barely played, Jack. Barely played under Jose, didn't get a look in under Nuno, and just not a part of Conte's plans. Don't get me wrong, nice lad and everything else. But look, average Joe has got to go and he's on his way out the door, Jack. And look, I'm absolutely buzzing because with Tanganga as well, who knows? The market's not over yet. Another 5 weeks. Who knows what's about to happen? But I'm happy with this because, Jack, look, his career is stagnating. He's, 24, 25 now. He's not a youngster. He's nowhere near getting into that team. The fact that Dyer and Davies are ahead of him just shows he's nowhere near the level to be at Tottenham in the first place. It was a quick buy at the end of a window. It's never worked out. And, look, let him go. Let him go and further his career. And, look, good luck, Joe Rodon.
Yeah, good luck, Joe Rodon. When it comes to, him, Dave, I feel like, he could do well enough for league, kind of side. They do kind of play a bit defensive over there. There's a lot of, good wingers, in that league. But there have been some good defenders to have come out, of league, kind of recently. Especially, I always use Wesley Fofana is, the best case of, kind of good defenders. Benoit Badiashile, I think, is a great defender, there. And, kind of Liga. Sven Botman has just come from there. So who knows, Dave? Maybe, Joe Rodon could actually, find a home, over at Rennes. And then if he does well enough, to, maybe get them into the Champions League or like get them into, a European spot, which is, I'm pretty sure, what they're kind of going for every season, they could have, maybe enough, kind of bravery to trigger that buy option. So I think it's just dependent on whether Joe Rodon plays, enough football. And then if he plays enough football, that football is actually good enough for them to get into Champions League. And if they get into Champions League, I could see them, triggering that buy option. And then we actually end up making a tiny bit of a profit on Joe Rodon, which, like you said, Dave, fantastic work by Paratici. They do actually have a fair few good attackers, over at Rennes. They, I think, Jay, were one of like the top, sort of scoring teams in Liga. They have like Laporta, Bourigeaud. My French pronunciations are garbage, but yeah, Laporta, Bourigeaud, Martin Terrier. So I don't know, Dave. That's not even mentioning Jeremy Doku. So who knows? Maybe Joe Rodon could be a part of a good team over there.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I actually don't care whether he goes and does well. I don't care what team he goes to. At the end of the day, I care about Tottenham. Get him off my books. He's not good enough to be here. And it just signals an end to all this averageness that have taken place over the last 2 or 3 years. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming Joe Rodon for any of this. But, we should be aspiring to have better players challenging Eric Dyer for his position. There's a reason why Eric Dyer turned his back against Brighton, because he knows there was no one else to come in and play that centre-back role. So for me, look, I'm glad to get him gone. Hopefully with Tanganga as well, it means we might actually be looking in that position that I've been crying about, moaning about all last season and all summer long. So hopefully now the Don has listened to me, Conte has listened to me, and I finally get my wish, Jack.
Yeah, hopefully you do get your wish. But let us know, everybody, what you think of, Joe Rodon moving to, to Rennes. If that, loan move works out, everybody, we could end up getting 20 million euros. I think, Dave is right. He probably really just all he cares about is just getting Rodon off the books. But I would say you guys should root for Rodon doing well enough that we actually get that, option triggered. And then we wouldn't have to deal with him, the following summer and have to find him a new home, in the next, summer transfer window. But Dave, maybe we move on to the next bit of news here. But we do have, a member chat from Moondog celebrating 9 months as a Flat Cap member saying, "Good evening, lads. I hope you're feeling better, Dave."
No, big up, Moondog. Look, I'm not 100% there. I still got the kidney stone. But today, I've been feeling good. The last few days, your boy's been rough. Hasn't been answering his phone or anything like that. But look, I'm back here with a smile on my face, baby. And that's all you can ask for. I'm back. Apologies that I did actually miss that Roma game. That's how bad of pain I was in. And look, I had to go. But look, not the Roma game, the Rangers game. Big H scoring 2 as well. Bit disappointed, but I will be back for this Roma game. Just quickly though, Jack, before we do move on to the next piece of news, surely with Tanganga heading off to Milan, it does mean that we would probably be looking to bring in a centre back. But for me, I struggle to see where we're going to go with this, because my main targets are gone. De Ligt was achievable, gone to Bayern Munich. Botman was achievable, gone to Newcastle. And I'm not sure where we go from here. I know some people have mentioned Upamecano, but look, if he was that great, Bayern Munich wouldn't have went and spent big money on De Ligt this summer, So for me, I struggle to see who we're going to get. And even if you want to say, you could have got one of the Burnley boys to come in as backup. Both moved on as well, Ben Mee, Tarkowski. So where do we even go for a centre back right now? I'm stuck, Jack. You any ideas?
I think you probably end up kind of getting stuck in the position, Dave, where you're going to have to go for a really talented sort of kind of center back that, has probably, proven it at some sort of level on the sort of domestic league stage at, whatever league they find themselves in. I think Ndika, of course, is sort of still out there, up for grabs. You have Benoit Badiashile, who even Ali Gold has, touted that Spurs are somewhat interested in. He's been doing pretty well over in Monaco. He's really young, too, that's their kind of bonus. You have that guy Zabarny, which you could maybe go after, who's maybe not gettable potentially with that Ukrainian situation. I'm not too sure about that. But what I mean to say, Dave, just to kind of prove the point that I'm trying to kind of iterate here, is that, when it comes to, finding a solution for who to compete with Dyer, we probably are in the situation where we have to find a center back that, is more on the younger side that can compete with him, one that maybe has a really high ceiling, who knows, actually could end up displacing Dyer if things go, exceptionally well, for that player, but someone that would be quality enough in case Dyer gets hurt or Dyer needs, a bit of rest, and, is maybe young enough too that you could, kind of find, a future replacement, with Dyer in that sort of player. I don't think we can really go after the Gvardials, the Bremers, the Botmans, or et cetera, of these players, the Bastonis and whatnot, the Jules Koundés, the Koulibalys, all these guys, Dave, like you said, are all gone. So we're going to have to probably settle for maybe a younger, talented option that is proven, but maybe just not as, a household name as maybe you might say.
Yeah, look, what I will say is maybe I wouldn't write off
challenge
anything
for Dyer. Yeah, still a challenge for Dyer, though. Still competition for him, which is all you want.
Yeah, but for me, I'll be honest with you, Jack, I actually want to replace him. I think that's where my head is at. Look, I know Dyer's weaknesses. I've exposed them time and time again. Great season last season, but it's the best season he's ever had. What's to say he can reach them heights again? And that's why he needs proper competition, or for me, actual replacement, because we still are crap from set pieces. We still haven't addressed that problem from last season. And for me, you've got to get in someone that absolutely wants to win the ball. And for me, I think you look at it, someone like a Skriniar, I think is still available. PSG pulled out of that.
Sure.
We know that Inter Milan still need the money. Bastoni now could be back on the cards. Maybe it'd be interesting to see if anything comes about that the next few days, because as I said, Inter still need money to be able to conduct a bit more of their own business that they want to do. So for me, that's where I would be aiming. Look, even if you have to go in and throw 80 million for Gavardiol, if that's your long-term target, if that's the guy you want to come in and play that position, put the money out on the table and go and get him. We still have a lot of money left in the coffers. We still have players that we're looking to offload, but there's still another 50 million on that 150 million investment that can be drawn upon as well. So, you add in a bit more on top of that. There you go. You've got your man. So for me, I don't want to see any of these. Like, look, for me, next season is the sort of season where you can bring in someone like a Badiashile and Deekers and players like that, that you can bring in and give them time to develop them and stuff like that. But right now, my eyes are focused on a league title charge, and the only way that that's going to happen is by getting me someone like a Skriniar, someone like a Bastoni or Gavardia, someone that's going to come in here. A big signing at centre back.
Maybe the point being, though, Dave, is that perhaps, we missed our shot and we missed our chance with those, or they're just not really available, any longer, in this transfer window. So that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make there. So you're going to have to settle, with something that isn't, perhaps of that sort of proven quality or that sort of, marquee, household name. You're going to have to maybe, settle with something a bit less, do
I
your
won't,
homework.
Get dirty. I'll be restless. No sleep for Dave until
Gotta get in the mud. Got to get in the mud, Dave. Do your homework. Start doing a bit of scouting. That's what Spurs have put the position in us, and that's the position we find ourselves in. But we have a super chat from Dark Sun G, and he's saying, "Did you see Basuma doing the sun pose? Also, Kane looks the most fit I've ever seen him. Also, the Don has done his magic once again. We're better than the Blues." So many things to unpack here from Dark Sun G. I didn't actually see Basuma doing the sun pose. Dave, did you catch that?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I think it was at that media day he was doing the sun. He was doing the sun celebration. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Emerson and Son were having a very good time. Clearly, Dark Sun G. They seemed to be laughing. While the whole room, just clearly didn't understand the joke. They seem to have a lot of inside jokes. The two, Dark Sun G. And then he also says Kane's look fitter than ever. Yeah, I mean he's looking thinner. He's looking more muscular. His face is even looking. He's even looked like he's lost a bit of weight in the face as well. I mean, Dave, he's just looking prime. And then also he says the Don has done his magic once again. I think he's referring to that Rodon deal. And hopefully, like I said, Dark Sun G, Rodon plays well enough that we actually do get that 20 million. And then, the MLB manager, Dark Sun G, what else is there to say?
Yeah, look, the
MLB owner. Yeah.
My specialist subject, Harry Kane. Thank you, Dark Sun G. I just wanted an excuse to talk about the guy. Look, for me, I've been saying it since I looked at him in Korea. I think he's looking super sharp, super fit. Even he scored a lot. He scored against the Korean 11. Then he got a disallowed long-range shot against Sevilla. And then, bang in 2 against Rangers. The guy is absolutely on fire. And why wouldn't he be, lads? Look, you're talking about a guy that's hunting down the Tottenham record. He wants his golden boot back. You're talking about a guy where now Ronaldo and Messi are probably out of the picture, who probably has a Ballon d'Or in his sights. You're talking about a guy who wants to be fit, firing, and probably sees himself being able to win that World Cup with England. And chasing down the England record. He's got everything to go full pelt at this season, and he looks focused and he looks ready. By the end of this season, we could definitely be talking about the best striker in world football, especially with the likes of Lewandowski, Messi, Ronaldo, and all kind of getting past it. You're talking about a guy coming to his prime, and he's going to score hella goals this season. Be ready. I warned you.
There you are.
And actually, just quickly, the Don strikes again. Look, I've said it about this guy from day one when he came in. Big believer, to get 20 million for a guy that has barely played. I mean, he made a couple of appearances under Jose Mourinho, barely got in a look in under Nuno, nowhere near the team under Conte. Actually came off the bench against Arsenal. And, people are like, oh yeah, he still plays for us. So, to get 20 million for a guy like that, plus we spent 11 million on him. I mean, he's an absolute god if we recoup that.
Definitely.
I'll be honest. I think they just agreed to it just because they want to loan him this season. I actually don't think they have any or any.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to pay for. I don't think they will end up paying that 20 million. I think they just done it just to get him in on loan. I'll be honest.
I agree with you there. The hottest Spur saying, lads, do you like my profile pic? Very artistic is what I would say, my man. Very artistic.
Big up the hottest Spur.
Big up. Appreciate it, brother. William Catucci. Love that name, William. Saying, hello, lads. Watching from NYC. I'm out here in Brooklyn, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. He says, I'm headed to Stamford Bridge for the Chelsea Spurs game on August 14th, but I'll be watching from the Chelsea section.
Brave man,
but also, maybe Dave, as well, maybe give him some, tips on how to fit into the Chelsea crowd.
Yeah, look, make sure you go and get your hair permed beforehand, get your nails painted. Then you go and have
Rolex watches, maybe, if you have any or any fake ones.
Probably go for a bit of lobster before the game. Something nice and exotic. You'd probably be drinking craft beer with Jack, maybe. Jack loves a craft beer. But no, look, my man, you actually have a set of bollocks on you. I mean, I'll be honest, just don't wear any Spurs colours. Or actually, maybe do, because when I was at a North London derby before at Wembley, a guy walked up in an Arsenal jersey and they took him out and put him in the away section. So it might actually work in your favour. Maybe when you get into the ground, you're sitting on your seat, open it, show your Spurs jersey, and then hopefully the stewards will remove you and put you in the away section where you want to be, my man. Because I'll be honest, I think we're turning them second game of the season. Their club is in disarray at the minute. Your man is struggling to get very, very good signings over the line. It's not what he promised Chelsea. They've got a new defence. They got slapped 4-0 by Arsenal. Thomas Titty Tuchel is not very happy right now. So for me, get ready for a spanking. It's coming. Tottenham are in town, baby. We're going to turn them over. We're going to get that hoodoo off our back, and we are challenging for a league title. Come on.
Big up, William. Come on, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well, this evening, on Thursday evening in NYC, and second game of the season as well. To be able to go to that, it's such a crucial game too, William. I mean, that was an intense one. Good choice. Daniel Larson celebrating 4 months as a fan show member. Dave saying, hi, guys. Sorry I have not been active recently. Been super busy. Anyways, though, glad you are feeling better, Dave.
Yeah, look, no one ever has to worry about me. I'm a big guy. I'll always be fine. Do not worry about me. I'll always be fine. But I appreciate the concerns, though. But your boy David is back.
Big up, Daddy Hoyberg. Hopefully you're keeping well, Mr. Larson. Hopefully all is good, my man. And with Southampton, being the first, game of the season, Daddy Hoyberg, I actually expect you to be starting, my man. So get yourself ready, brother. Get yourself ready. But we have another super chat from Philo Coys, Dave, saying, good deal. That for Rodon makes sense to me. Big up. Yeah, it's a good deal because you're getting Rodon off the books. Potentially, like I said, if he plays out of this world and plays well enough, you could actually recoup, a 20 million fee, which would be ridiculous. But you're getting him off the books, maybe potentially making moves, to be able to bring in another center back. I think this is just well done. We've just gotten him out the door.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's absolutely brilliant piece of business. At the end of the day, he was one of the foreign players. He didn't classify as homegrown and he had to go.
Love that. Big up, Philo. Hopefully you're all keeping well as well, my man. Moondog saying, will not be happy until I get a Winks. Here we go. That's when it becomes a 10 out of 10 window, I think, for Moondog Dave. Big up, Moondog. Hopefully you're keeping well.
I agree. Look, we'll be touching on that fucker in a minute, Moondog. So just wait a couple of minutes. We'll be touching on him. But I can't. Once he goes, the days of average Joes at this club are over.
And then lastly, Dark Sun G saying, also, did you hear about the Jimenez injury? Our first 3 fixtures look great for 3 wins and 9 points. Blues not looking great. Wolves ace is out. Southampton killer, Son and Kane ready and firing. Look, when it comes to the Southampton game, it's just maybe the fact that we're away from home. I think we are away from home for that one, Dave. Is that right for the Southampton game?
No, I think, are we not at home against Southampton and then we're on the road against Chelsea, I think.
That's right. So we're at home against Southampton. Then it really, I don't know, full confidence there in that case, then Dark Sun G. So don't you worry. We'll get fit and firing there. Chelsea game, like I said, Thomas Tuchel is, quite rattled. Dave had plenty of words to say with that. Clearly, they're not in the right headspace. And then with Wolves and Jimenez being out, they barely score goals as it is. To then have another player out, I don't know. They need all the help they can get when it comes to the scoring front, Dark Sun G. So great point there, my man. Great point. And yeah, I think maybe our first 3 fixtures have actually somehow looked a lot easier than maybe they did before. Somehow they're looking easier than they once did.
Nah, look, Southampton, they've got a good keeper in Bazunu. It wouldn't surprise me if he probably had a
True.
worldie against us. But Harry Kane had a goal disallowed there last season, and he'll remember that. And it shouldn't have been disallowed either. So he'll be waiting to make his mark first game this season. I'm not worried about Southampton. I'll be honest. I think we beat them. I'm not worried about Chelsea. In fact, even if we take a point away from there, it's a good result. And with Wolves, look, what I will say to people is they've been a bogey team. Every time they get back into the Premier League, I remember years ago when we had Robbie Keane, Pavlyuchenko there in the Premier League, we've always found it hard to beat Wolves. But 9 times out of 10, we find a way. So hopefully we can get it done. Because last season, if you remember, I know we bet them 1-0 under Nuno, but we were very lucky. I think they had like 16 shots on our goal. And then we ended up losing to them at home. I remember I was over there for that game, and I got word Harry Winks was starting. I was ringing Ryanair, please get me back home. You know, it was absolutely ridiculous. So we didn't beat them over the 2 games last season. So, you know, that one might not be easy, but I reckon we'll get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, Wolves and Southampton were tricky, you know, last time. They were trickier than, you know, we wanted them to be. Fair point there. Big up, Dark Sun G. Really appreciate support, my man.
Big up, Dark Sun G. Absolute legend. And Moondog, who's your player? Who's your obscure player you're going to bet on this season, my man? Let me know.
Maybe move on to another bit of news, Dave, to kind of keep going, or should... Yeah, go on. We have Tin Man. Sorry about that. Tin Man super chat saying...
Good to see you in the building, my man. Hopefully life has been treating you well, my man. It's been a long time. Hopefully life is treating you well.
And he says, we have so far have a net spend of £40 million this window. So we should still have a minimum of £100 million left to spend. And not forgetting the Champions League money that's already there. Is Levy fooling us again?
Look, it's a valid question. I think it's a very valid question. What I will say is, it's just because Perisic didn't cost money, it doesn't mean he's not a marquee signing. He is. He's world class. Just because Fraser Forrester didn't cost us any money, it doesn't mean it's not a good sign to bring in as backup. Look, we went and spent big on Richarlison. I do get what people are saying with this net spend, and maybe you could feel like you are maybe being conned again. Look, my personal opinion is, I think we've had a very good window. At the end of the day, look, this squad, if you're being realistic, we probably needed 12 to 13 players this summer. Never, ever, ever going to happen in one window. And I've been saying this for a long time. No matter what work and surgery we need to do on this squad, you're never going to get it done this summer. And I do think the business we have done so far has been very good. Look, Basuma didn't cost a massive amount of money, 30 million. But at the end of the day, if I can get these guys in cheap or on free like we did with Perisic, why not? It just means we have more money. And what I will say, Tim, man, is I don't think this window is over yet. I think you might see a Zaniolo or a Madison-type player coming in, plus one centre-back. And if we do that, and we still have the money to be able to do that, and we still have the money to go big, should a Skriniar, Bastoni suddenly become available, like a Villarreal. So, all in all, I actually think we've had a very good window. But until we get a few more players off the books, there will be no one else brought into this club, in my opinion. But I do see where people are coming from with it. And we at Tottenham TV asked for questions the other day, so I kind of put in a question like that on Twitter for them, that they could do on stream. But look, my personal opinion is I think we've had a decent window so far. I mean, just because the players maybe have cost a bit cheaper than what originally, because before people would have said if Basuma cost 60 million, pay the 60 million, we got 30 million. It's a bargain. An absolute bargain. I wouldn't look. What I will say is it's similar to a window we had under Jose Mourinho. But if you look at the caliber of players we've brought in this window compared to that window where we brought in 7 players, Session was a part of it. I think you look at this window, it's much more calculated.
Definitely more calculated. And I agree with you, Dave. Top players don't require top fees. The top players don't necessarily need to command, tons and tons of money. You can get top players for more of a bargain. Especially with this upcoming summer, we knew that there were going to be players that were going to be on the end of their contracts going for frees. It wasn't necessarily the case that your target always had to be 60 million, 70 million pounds. Maybe in these cases, the ideal player that we wanted, for Conte happened to be, 26 million pounds for Basuma, happened to be free signing and, Perisic, and et cetera. So great points there, Dave. Big up, Tin Man.
I will just add as well is, that with that 150 million cash injection, or the 150 million, and then we drew 100 of it, that was so that we could start operating earlier in the window, because there wasn't that cash flow there. That was so we could start bringing in players before we actually sold players. And that's what we've seen this window, because before it's always been sell, then you buy, and we've operated late in the window and waited till late last minute to get bargains. So I will say I do think that maybe they have helped us this window. I do agree with you, though. We've got 80% done. It would be a shame if it ended here and we didn't do that last 20% that I think we need to do if we really want to lay down the marker this season.
Good point. Yeah, I still want a center back and a creative midfielder to come in, and I do expect a center back to still come in. Definitely expect a center back to still come in, with Joe Rodon and Tanganga likely to leave. Big up, Tin Man. We have Dane Scarlett, Dave, joining Portsmouth on a season-long loan deal, which actually could be an ideal club, for him. And I feel like maybe they did do their homework on this one. He is joining on a season-long loan deal. Last season, they finished fifth in the league. In 2019-20, they finished fifth in the league in League One, and then an eighth in the league in the next season in 2020-21. And then the following season, 2021-22, they finished 10th in the league, Dave. And then this is from Rob Guest via Football London. Scarlett will be in line to make his Portsmouth debut this coming Saturday away at Sheffield Wednesday, with Parrott as well, with Preston making the short trip to Lancashire to see rivals Wigan Athletic. While it has been a very busy in terms of incomings at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the strikers' temporary moves were in fact the club's first two loan exits this summer. Dave, is Portsmouth the right type of club for Scarlett in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it is, Jack. I've done a bit of looking into who their forward players are. So they've got four. One of them is kind of old. One of them is young enough, but it looks like he'll be loaned out again. He was loaned out last season. So in effect, he's kind of got three strikers there, and now Dane Mbappe will be the fourth. And I reckon he has a serious chance of getting into the team. Listening to the Portsmouth manager's quotes, Jack, he was very, very excited to have him, and he does want to continue on his development. And look, I think Dane Mbappe is just waiting to explode. He's just waiting for game time. You could hear in his interview, he said, "I'm hungry." He's hungry. He's waiting for this. And I think, but Jack, it comes down to how he treats this loan spell. Does he get his head down, work hard, stay in the gym, stay on the training pitch, staying behind, doing extra work? He has to treat it well. And if he treats it the right way, it will work out for him. He will get into that Portsmouth team, because you're talking about a team that has the EFL trophy, FA Cup, League Cup, and a 42 or 40-something league season as well. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for Dane Mbappe to make his mark at Portsmouth. And I just think he will, I think he's been waiting for this loan spell. I think he'll do seriously well. And look, hopefully now, Jack, he can also go out there and physically maybe grow into his body, become a man. Maybe leave the sheltered surroundings of the under-21s and get out there into men's football where, it matters. Everyone's playing for their wage. You're playing so that the club don't have to let go of staff at the end of the season. It's where money really matters in football. It's where football is a matter of life or death, and it will do him the world of good. But like I said, it comes down to how he wants to treat it, and hopefully he treats it the right way, Jack.
Hopefully he treats it the right way. Like I said, with their league form, Dave, they've actually dropped, a few places in the league, each season when they went from 5th to 8th to 10th. Maybe Dane Mbappe is being brought in to, kind of rescue their fortunes from, kind of dropping even further. And then also as well with Parrott, kind of doing recently well in League One too, Dave. Maybe Dane Mbappe could actually, be suited, for that sort of league. I think Championship probably would have been a bit too soon for him. Maybe a bit, too much all at once. I think League One with the right team, with the right surroundings, he could be there. And lastly, Dave, my last little point is with him being such, kind of a talent, him being such a golden boy, kind of in the ranks of kind of the youth team, I feel like Spurs probably did their homework with whatever club they would have accepted, him to go out on loan. I don't think they would have just said yes to anybody. I'm pretty sure they would have been very careful with where they wanted to see Dane Mbappe go.
Oh, 100%. Look, I think it'd be stupid of them to put him out at a club, Jack, where he wouldn't get minutes or wouldn't be guaranteed minutes, And like I said, there's going to be plenty of games for him to make his mark 100%. So hopefully he can take it. It's a good place for him to go. I think, look, we've signed Jermaine Defoe to the academy. Hopefully he'll keep a close eye on him. He has connections down in Portsmouth. Don't forget he had a couple of spells there, done very well. And hopefully he can keep an eye on him and maybe nurture him, provide him with maybe little tips and hints and tools to maybe, because Defoe wasn't the biggest player, but maybe to be able to have a career like Defoe, if he's not going to be the biggest of players, learn how to make them runs. And I think physically it'd be great for him, because Jack, when you're playing up against men, I went into playing against men when I was 15, lad. And what it does is it starts to, it teaches you how to use your body to hold up the ball, how to spin off players and get in behind,
you learn
to use your pace so that they physically can't dominate you. It will do him the world of good getting out there playing men's football. He will learn so much more from even playing 20 games there than what he will playing a full season in the under-23s.
I completely agree. Moondog saying the difference this time is players are coming in to fit Conte's system, not the other way around. Absolutely, Moondog. And, again, just kind of reiterates the point that, if, the player that needs to come in that fits Conte's system costs £20 million, it doesn't cost £60 million, then I think Spurs, might end up taking the cheaper option. And then as well, I kind of like the fact that, the majority of these signings have been more or less, Conte-like signings, or, players that you could see, slotting into his system really well. The Jet Spence one is probably the only one that sort of has weird, club or Levy kind of like, tendencies to it. But who knows? Maybe he could still do well, prove someone wrong. But I really like, the signings, Moondog. I think they're all coming in to fit the system. And most people who aren't even Spurs fans are agreeing. They all think that most of these signings are coming in to fit, Conte's system as well.
Mm-hmm.
Big up.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think this window has been very, very calculated. They clearly looked at the squad, assessed it. There was loads of reports about Conte, Paratici. Look, Paratici assessed that squad when he was there under Nuno. If you forget, don't forget he was down there sitting with the players, walking in and around, down on the pitch. He knows exactly, the players to get rid of. Him and Conte have done a serious assessment of this squad, and they went to Levy and Enoch with the plans and like, look, we have to get these guys gone, and we have to start filling these positions, and we need money to do so. These are our targets. So for me, I think it's been a very good window. And if you, like I said, compare it to the one we done under Jose Mourinho, where we brought in 7 players, I think Matt Doherty, Ryan Sessegnon, and then you compare it to maybe the standard of players we're bringing in here. I think, we've definitely upped the quality of players coming in here, technical-wise as well.
Yeah, technical-wise as well. Well said, Dave. But another super chat. Big up, Moondog. Really appreciate it, my man. Hopefully Dyer gets at least 3 goals this season, my man. Tin Man saying, I think we lost around 25 points from lower teams last season. We couldn't just break down. I think we need a creative player. The creative player we need is a must. And of course, now Rodon gone and maybe Tanganga, surely a center back is needed too. I think you're right, Tin Man. I mean, when you look at it, the center back is probably a bit more desperate, with Rodon and Tanganga likely leaving. It kind of just makes that center back more essential than, really any other position. But that creative midfielder is certainly something that we could need when it comes to, something a bit different. Perhaps, our sort of creativity from the wing backs or creativity from Kulusevski out wide might not be enough in certain games. And you need to go through, maybe put someone else, through the middle to kind of get things done. You could be right, Tin Man, but it's looking like the center back is going to be more crucial than ever with Rodon and likely Tanganga leaving as well.
Look, for me, I don't think we could just blame the issues on maybe a lack of a creative midfielder, because if you look what teams done to us, they made sure our wing-backs were marked. They pressed the middle of the pitch, and therefore they were putting the onus on our defenders. Get the ball to the front, guys. Try and break us down. We could not get that ball out of the back line whatsoever. We couldn't really get it to our front line. Dyer was taking 8, 9, 10 touches, passing it sideways to Davies, which was going back inside to Dyer, across to Romero. The only one with any sort of passing ability who actually was trying to play these long passes and they were sort of accurate was Romero. Davies, as good as he had of a season last season, doesn't have that passing ability. Dyer does not have that passing ability as much as he has a boot on him. 9 times out of 10. I remember this against Brighton. It's going back to their goalkeeper. I'm sitting there looking at Dyer. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So I wouldn't always just blame it on a creative midfielder. Don't get me wrong. It would be nice to have someone that can drop into them pockets of space between the opposition back line and midfield But at the end of the day, I'm delighted that we've got in Langley who has a better passing ability. But let's go and get someone in at centre back that maybe has a good range on him as well. And I will say, when we did eventually get the ball out to the wing backs, you look at Ryan Sessegnon, you look at Matt Doherty or Emerson, they couldn't beat their man. And they didn't even try it. You go back, look at them games, 0 take-on attempts in any of them games. You bring in Perisic. Perisic would beat his man, not a problem. Spence would have a goal. From what I've seen last season across the championship, he'll have a right goal trying to beat his man. So it'll be very, very interesting to see have we done enough. And plus, we've got Basuma. Like last year, we're looking at Bentancur, Højbjerg to try and drop deep, get on the ball and the mark. Well, give it to Basuma. He'll just muscle them out of the way, beat 2-3 guys, and get you the ball forward single-handedly, a bit what Moussa Dembele used to do. So I do think we've brought in some good players to try and help us in that regard. But I agree, maybe we could get that creative attacking midfielder. I'll be back in just 1 second.
No worries. And Tim, man, I think we need that creative midfielder, probably just, that just to make sure completely that we have every single solution available to us when it comes to breaking down these teams. But I kind of agree with Dave. It really felt like, the majority of the teams that did sit back against us, the majority of teams that did sit deep against us, they were really just taking advantage of the fact that we didn't have any sort of players of any credibility that could threaten from out wide, any players that could really create anything out wide. We all saw Emerson, really struggle to putting in any sort of, delivery of any quality. He couldn't also beat his man off the dribble. We also saw that Sessegnon had similar, difficulties as well. So it really was, in my eyes, at least, man, the teams were taking advantage of the fact that Spurs couldn't really create anything, from the wide areas. And that's actually where a lot of Conte's creativity comes from anyway, is from those wide areas. And we couldn't do much from out there. And I know we do probably need a creative midfielder, but I do hope we do improve on, our ball playing center backs, as well as also, having, maybe better, creativity from those wide areas. Big up to them, man.
Big up, Tim, man. Great talking points, my man. Great talking points. Big yourself up.
And Dark Sun G saying the training video shows positive and togetherness. Like I said, Dark Sun G, Sonny and Emerson, clearly it almost looks like they couldn't be separated. I bet Kane was getting a bit jealous there, Dave.
Yeah, look, don't worry about Kane. He just wants to act in on the trio, Jack. That's all he wants. He just wants to be allowed in. He probably hasn't got the magic password yet. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the training videos. I'll be honest, like you even look at the one the other day where they done all the little mini game after mini game after mini game after mini game. I'll be honest, when I look at that sort of thing, and that's really tough going, by the way, no break, one game to another game to another game. It's tough going. He is running the absolute socks off these guys, and about time, because let's be honest, they've had it good for 2 years. Under Jose Mourinho, they weren't told to do any extra gym work whatsoever. The onus was on them to try and be professional. Half of them didn't. Look at them. They all ballooned up in weight. They couldn't last 60 minutes, let alone 90 minutes. Under Nuno, it was the same sort of thing. Severely unfit. So I'm absolutely delighted to see. And I'd say it's some culture shock. Look, he's cut out bread. There's no sandwiches after training anymore. It's fruit. He's instructed the chef to take mayo, ketchup, brown sauce, butter, any sort of fatty ingredients completely away from it. No fizzy drinks in the vending machine, which is probably why Ndombele is crying. So at the end of the day, I'm absolutely completely on board with what Conte's doing, because the reason why we were so good under Pochettino is because we could last 90 minutes. We outrun teams every single game, and they could not handle it. And we have to get back to that. If you want to be champions, not only do you have to be good players, but you also have to have that fitness there. I'm a big guy. I've been through it. Very talented player I was. But when I put on weight, you don't have that fitness, you have to start finding out new ways of doing things, or you have to change your game, because you're nowhere near the player you are when you're fit. And when you're fit, up here works so much quicker as well. And I think you'll see that, the effects of it this season.
And you can't rely on your physicality if you're not fit as well. You have to, you're not simply not as good. Yeah. Well said. Big up, Dark Sun G, and absolutely, my man. There's such positivity and togetherness.
It gets me going,
during those training videos. It gets it going, exactly, Dave.
It gets me going.
Next bit of news here is Everton and Leeds are reportedly dropping their interest in Winks, and it has come from Charlie Eccleshare via The Athletic, and it's saying that the Winks situation is at a similar stage with no deal imminent. Everton have backed off, and while there was tentative interest from Leeds United, that is not expected to go any further. With more than a month of the window left, maybe many buying clubs are still assessing their options. Dave, Harry Winks cannot stick around this summer. We need him to go. We need him to give up that number 8 shirt. But, before you talk about that number 8 shirt, do you feel like it's going to be like a deadline day, sort of like, sell or, something like towards the end of the window?
I'll be honest with you, Jack. I think clubs are employing a tactic that we so families used to employ for the last, 15 years, maybe 20 years, is that we wait to the very last minute, hoping that club needs to get the player off the books. So you get a bargain, you get him at your price rather than what the club want to sell him at. Now, we know the fees have been barked around 20, 25 million. Let's be honest, a lot of us who we play FIFA, we play Football Manager, you don't even have to, but just in your own mind, if you were in charge of funds, would you release 20 to 25 million on a guy who's very average? Anytime Tottenham play and we lose, he's been a part of the most embarrassing results in our history over the last few years. And he's never been at another club to show what he can do. It's a huge risk to release the funds. Look, I think clubs are waiting to maybe pay a 10 million thing with maybe 10 million added on in bonuses, which the club will probably end up looking at taking come towards the end of the window. Right now, I think we're trying to demand a fee. I mean, look, if we're trying to demand 20 million for Joe Rodon, you can only imagine what we're trying to demand for Harry Winks, Jack.
If we're demanding 20 million for Harry Winks, Dave, I think it's going to be like a loan option to buy something similar, for Joe Rodon, sort of, because why would someone pay 20 million up front for Harry Winks? Like, that's the thing I just don't get. I could see if it goes really well for a club, maybe they do trigger that buy option, and maybe it's more of a mandatory sort of buy option, something like that, and if things go horribly wrong, they can cancel it, and et cetera. But I don't know. It just makes no sense for someone at this stage to just pay 20 million up front for Winks. And the reason that what maybe backs my argument here, Dave, is, the report here from The Athletic, from Charlie Eccleshare at The Athletic, basically saying is there are no deals imminent, for Harry Winks. There really is no interest for Harry Winks at all. The two clubs that have shown any interest are Leeds United and Everton. So, and they've made it very clear that they have no interest, in Harry Winks any further. So I think that's quite funny that they decided they don't want to, have any dealings with Harry Winks. So when you look at it, Dave, would really a player that's worth around 20 million have no interest in him, like whatsoever? He seems like nobody wants to bite. Nobody's even, having any sort of, intention on, maybe, thinking about bringing Winks in. So I don't really feel like he is worth 20 million if no one's even interested in bringing him in, if you ask me. And then another part is that you have to kind of always put yourself as Spurs fans in the shoes of the buying club.
Yeah.
Like if you were the buying club, if you were Everton, think about Everton. You have Fat Frank in charge. You're going to have to fire him in about 2 months because he's not going to take you very far. Would you really, if you were the owner of Everton, would you really pay 20 million up front for Harry Winks? It just seems like such a waste of 20 million. Like, even if you think he's worth that, just such a waste of 20 million in their case, especially when they're already under financial, kind of fair play issues and everything like that, Dave. Like, that is a very expensive 20 million to a team like Everton. And you don't even know if he's actually going to even succeed because he's only played for one club his whole life as well.
And you make some great points there, Jack, and you do have to put yourself in the buying shoes. And I just want to say one thing quickly before I get back to your point. The reason why Joe Rodon will command somewhere in the region of 20 million if he goes out and does well, and the reason why clubs are willing to take that gamble on him is because he still plays for Wales and puts in unbelievable spirited and hearted performances for them. So he's had that exposure on the international scene. Harry Winks hasn't. He's just been left to rot. So for me, like, and look, Jack, like you said, when you're one of these clubs, right, you have to look at it. What are you getting for the money you're paying? Well, you're not getting a ball tackler. You're not getting a ball carrier. You're not getting a guy that wants to spray passes around. What you're getting is a guy that wants to run to the centre back, take it off him 5 yards away from him, and pass it back to him and go and hide again for a few minutes. So you're actually not getting anything. You're getting a championship player. I looked at Everton's midfielders today. Allen, Gomez, Davies, Ali, Decore, and Jean-Pierre Gambamin, or whatever you want to pronounce it. He ain't getting in ahead of them. He couldn't even get into our midfield when we had two players to compete with, let alone all them players. He's not getting anywhere near their midfield. Why would they be interested in him? Now, Leeds is a different story. They've got Forshaw, they've got Click, and I think there's one other guy there. So they might end up coming back for him if they don't get other targets. But But as it stands, I don't see why Everton would buy him. He's not getting in ahead of the Corey. He won't get in ahead of Allen, especially with Everton. Like, they're a team that are probably, in fact, Frank said it himself, looking to avoid relegation. They need players in there that are going to battle. That guy's going to cower every single time. We've seen him do it in the Tottenham jersey. So for me, I'll be honest. I think we might have to do something similar like we've done with Dele Alli, you know.
Are clubs like Everton clueless enough, though? Mark Mullen saying Everton just agreed to buy Vinagre for $20 million from Sporting after Sporting reluctantly agreed to pay $12 million for him just 3 weeks ago. They are clueless. Could they be clueless enough to pay $20 million for Winks, in your eyes, Dave?
Well, I mean, they have spent a lot of money, over the last few years, and they've been very, very erratic with their money. So, look, maybe they could be stupid enough. But what I will say is, their owner is under a lot of pressure right now. There's protests forming at Everton now with what's going on. So for me, I'm not sure they will be stupid enough to sanction that money on a guy like Winks. I think they'll be looking at someone a bit better. I'll be honest. Why wouldn't they go to Chelsea and maybe loan in Ross Barkley instead of paying in money for Harry Winks? Ross Barkley has been to Everton. He's shown there is a player in there. Harry Winks hasn't really done it, bar that game against Real Madrid. So, for me, I don't see it happening. But, Jack, let's get talking on about the number 8 jersey.
Oh, the number 8 jersey. That's right, Dave. Let's get into that question. So, Bissouma has yet to actually receive that number 8 jersey, Dave. Do you feel like, Harry Winks, if he were to leave, is he going to give up that number 8 jersey, because we're approaching, the first game of the season. And if, Bissouma starts that first game of the season, he'll have no number 8 jersey.
I actually expect him to hold on to it to the very end of the window, Jack, to be honest with you. Look,
That
at
seems
the end
a bit
of the day,
stubborn.
Yeah, of course he is, Jack. Of course he is. He's probably being bitter as well, Probably being a bit bitter, At the end of the day, there's no reason to be. Just hand it up. Give it up. You were left at home from going away onto career. Your Tottenham career is over. I get it, you're a Spurs fan. But if you're a Spurs fan, do the gracious thing and do what all of us Spurs fans want and hand over number 8 to Bissouma. And if you don't want to do that, if I was the club, I'd strip it off him. I'd say, look, you're going. Taking it off you. Give him Bissouma the number 8 so fans can start ordering their jersey. Stop hanging on to it. Stop trying to hang on to your career at Tottenham.
He's stalling deals for Daniel Levy, Dave. He's making less money.
Give it up and go.
Daniel Levy's making less money on kit sales right now. This is money that would go back into the transfer, market, Dave. This is money that, Spurs could use in the future. Winks is even, stalling our ability to even make, a bit of coin, off of that beautiful Bissouma. Dave, even just think about it, number 8, Bissouma. You want to walk into the Spurs shop. Match day 1, Dave. Match day 1. You want to walk into the Spurs shop, see that Bissouma, and that Romero, number 17. Just sitting right next to each other. Just 2 beautiful players, 2 beautiful names with 2 beautiful numbers. And Winks is stalling that whole process.
I'll be honest, if I was Bissouma, I'd just hang him up on a peg in the changing room until he gives it to me. I'd just physically dominate him around the training ground until you just give me the number, you little weasel. But at the end of the day, Winks is probably there, because I have heard before of players buying numbers off players. It wouldn't surprise me if Winks is looking for the rest of his contract paid out by Bissouma just to get the number 8 jersey. It really wouldn't surprise me.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, we'll find out, everybody. And I would be very disappointed if Bissouma starts the first game of the season and he doesn't have that number 8. I think a lot of Tottenham fans be very disappointed to see that.
You're supposed to be a fan. Do what every fan wants and hand over that number.
Juventus are dropping their pursuit of Pau or of Zaniolo. Dave. And with Zaniolo, this is coming from James Holland via Team Talk, and he's saying on Tuesday, a report revealed just how much Conte wants Zaniolo to join Spurs. It claims he wants to overcome Juventus in the transfer race at all costs to bring in Zaniolo. There has since been a double update on the wide man's future. Italian journalist Daniele Michelli has said that the North London outfit are the only club willing to meet Roma's demands for Zaniolo. Jose Mourinho is hopeful that the player will stay at the Stadio Olimpico, but Roma's chiefs will nonetheless accept offers worth around £41.9 million or 50 million euros this summer. With Juve seemingly out of the running, Spurs are in a great position to capture Zaniolo and give him his first taste of the Premier League. Michelli also told Conte and Fabio Paratici how long they have to complete this move. The report states that Roma will begin contract renewal talks with Zaniolo in September. So we only have so much time left, which means Spurs need to launch their raid soon. Calcio Mercato Web have also reported, Dave, that maybe Spurs are in for some sort of Celso swap deal, but we're going to get onto that later, maybe with how that maybe not be true. But with Zaniolo, Dave, the rumors of, maybe him, coming to Spurs, they seem to be a bit stronger than the Madison rumors.
Yeah, they seem to be ramping up a little, Jack. Look, this is a guy that we have to remember. We've been interested in quite some time. I think we were linked with him when we had Poch, linked with him heavily under Jose, and now again. So this is a guy that we've watched for some time. And the reason why we haven't pulled the trigger beforehand, Jack, is because he's had 2 ACL injuries back to back. And look, I'm not going to sit here and complain about them anymore, because a lot of medical experts and a lot of people have actually come forward and said to me, look, Dave, no need to worry about it. Your legs actually come back stronger, if anything. So, and plus, it's not a career-ending injury like it used to be. There's medicine and all the medical stuff has come so much farther now. So for me, look, what I will say is, though, Jack, I looked at his numbers from last season, okay? Now, he got 8 goals and 9 assists. But I think 5 goals and 3 assists or something like that were actually in the Europa Conference League. He didn't actually have a great Serie A campaign. But what I will say is, I wouldn't really pay too much attention to the numbers under Jose Mourinho, purely because the only ones I've seen get world-class numbers under Jose Mourinho over the last few years is Kane and Son. And, we know how much attacking players can actually struggle in a Jose Mourinho system because it is not suited or tailor-made to their abilities. But is he really the answer for Cam, Jack? Because this guy plays off the wing. He likes to cut in off the wing. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a very, very talented player. Technically, I think he's excellent. But it still doesn't solve that Cam issue. It's still sort of kind of bringing in someone like, you've already got Gil Messi there, who likes to kind of drop in off the wing into that space. We've seen it against the K-League 11 with that 1-2 with Dyer, and he's done that a few times. Drop in, be that man, and lay it off. So we already have someone like that at the club in Gil. So I'm not sure why we're looking for him to maybe be that Cam. But if we're not looking to play a Cam at all, and we are just looking to bring him up in and beef up the attacking numbers, get me the guy. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Dave, where he doesn't seem like the most obvious, choice for creative midfielder, because what we really want is probably someone that can, sit in front of the strikers with sort of their back to goal, maybe drop deep a tiny bit, pick the ball up, thread through the passes, be able to dink it over the top, be able to, slip through, a pass between the lines, to Sonny or to Harry Kane. It's something that's more of a traditional sort of number 10 is kind of probably what we have in mind, which is, why James Maddison seems to be what everybody likes, is because he looks like more of a traditional number 10, to play in this team. But with Zaniolo, Dave, I could kind of see why, Spurs are more interested, in him, because he is a bit younger, and we are going after, a position that we don't really know how much, this player will really play, right? Like, how much will Conte really use this creative midfielder, type player? Is he really going to splash the cash on someone that he's going to use for only 30% of the games? I'm not too sure. Whereas Richarlison, as much as people like to think that he might be a backup, he's going to feature in much more than 30% of the games. He's going to feature in a lot of the games, and at least coming off the bench in the majority of the games, at least just to, kind of, maybe rest somebody or at least, help someone out. But with James Maddison coming into the team, Dave, we just don't really know how much he'd really play, where Zaniolo, because he's so versatile, he can play as a right wing. He can play as, a second striker. He did that most recently in the Conference League, playing alongside Tammy Abraham, and he can play as a creative midfielder. And I know, Dave, you have your reservations with him because he hasn't played there recently, as a creative midfielder, but he did get his kind of most, his first sort of kind of, I would say, kind of attention, or the time that people really started, noticing him over at Roma. He was playing as a creative midfielder, through the middle back then. And that was before he got those major injuries. But he did kind of make his name known, at least first, as a creative midfielder, kind of playing through the middle. Since the injuries and whatnot, he's kind of played all over the park, you could kind of say. But I think that's kind of why Spurs probably are, maybe more interested in Zaniolo, is because if we are going to go after a £50 million, €50 million creative midfielder, we'd rather him be able to play confidently a lot of other positions.
No, 100%. 100%. Just quickly, I want to take this. And this guy, I think he's a gooner. At the end of the day, I don't know why he's in here slagging Spurs fans. Your club signed a new signing today, Prime Energy Drink, and made such a big deal over it. You know, the hydration sponsor, Prime from KSI and Logan Paul. Absolutely ridiculous. You know, you have to try and get YouTube fans, you know, guys that follow these guys, young kids, to try and support your club because it's dead and you have no fan base coming through. So now you have to try and buy them by getting in this Prime Energy Drink. You're absolutely ridiculous. Amazon Prime and now Prime Energy. You're absolutely disgraceful club. In fact, you know what I might do? I might actually do a watch along for you all or nothing. Why drinking your Prime? Why drinking your hydration drink? You know, I put out a gif earlier on, Jack, of someone with binoculars. You know, I was like, that's Arteta, you know, before last North London derby, looking for the Prime truck to come in and drop in the energy drinks because they needed it. Absolute wellies, you mugs. I can't wait for this season to start and put you back in your place. Goodbye. Your club will be non-existent by the end of this season. I cannot wait. By the way, trust the process and keep Arteta. Sorry about that, everyone.
Documentary's out soon.
I had to get that off the chest. I've been holding it in for 3 days now, you know, getting at these gooners. But what I will say, everybody, please, if you are liking this stream, it is free. If you just smash that thumbs up button, the like button, it really does help push this show out. We are on a big push to 10K, but I would love to get to 8K before the season starts next week. So it would be awesome if you could smash this like button, get it pushed out to other Spurs fans, and hopefully they like it and subscribe as well. That would be awesome.
Next bit of news. Next bit of news here is Sergi Reguilon has been linked via Gerard Romero, Dave, which is, you know, supposedly kind of, you know, a reputable sort of source when it comes to Barcelona, because he has been linked with Barcelona. Ollie Dawes saying one of the more reliable Barcelona sources, Gerard Romero, has now reported via Fichajes that Barca are planning to launch a move in which Memphis Depay and Reguilon would switch clubs. Barcelona have been targeting other left backs like Marcos Alonso and Javi Galán, but offloading Memphis to land Reguilon could make sense, says the journalist. Spurs have said that they have no interest, though, Dave, in Depay, and reports have suggested in the past that Depay also has no interest in joining us. While it makes sense that Barcelona need to get rid of Depay and they also need to bring in a left back, this seems a bit unrealistic to me, despite maybe the very, you know, legit journalist maybe coming out.
One more, I promise. I can't resist. At least you're using the nickname your mother uses for me, so I appreciate that, my man. Big yourself up. She really loves that name. Big up, my man. Now we'll block you. And that's the last one, I promise, but I couldn't resist. Yeah, your mother calls me big boy. Sorry, Jack. Yeah, back to Reguilon. What was the question again, Jack?
While it makes sense that Barcelona need to get rid of Depay and need a left back, this seems a bit unrealistic. What do you think, Dave?
Look, what I will say is I kind of am surprised if he does end up at Barcelona, especially being from, sort of Real Madrid. But at the end of the day, money talks nowadays. You know, there's no real loyalty around anymore in football. So, look, I could definitely see it happen. I was looking at their wing back options today. They've got Jordi Alba. He's over the hill. You know, they don't really have great options. But for me, Jack, look, I don't want the play. That fucker's basically turned us down, said he doesn't want to come here. I don't want him. For me, there's better players there. If they really want him, try and get Ansu Fati, De Jong, you know, even that young guy, what's his name? 1 second, it'll come to me. Pedri, you know, someone like that. You know, I don't want the pay whatsoever. So, look, unless we can get a player that I think will actually benefit Conte, I don't see this one happening. What I will say is, Jack, and I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, and maybe you can say, I don't want to take your point about Sevilla and Conte.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Dave, here. It doesn't really make sense, you know, with maybe him potentially, you know, having his whole, like, he was born in Madrid, everybody played for Real Madrid. It would be kind of odd for him to, you know, make that switch to Catalonia, just him being such, you know, a Madrid sort of, you know, kind of kid, you know, through and through at the end of the day. And as well with Depay, you know, not really wanting Spurs. It makes sense that they want to get rid of Depay. It makes sense they want to get, you know, a left back in. But I don't know. There's just a lot of things that sort of, you know, when you add context to this deal, why it doesn't really make sense to me, at least, you know, with, you know, how things would go. But with Sevilla, Dave, you know, they've gotten a lot of money, you know, for Jules Koundé. I feel like, you know, they could go after, the likes of a Sergei Reguilon. I'm not really too sure if they're interested in a left back. I know they have that one Argentinian guy. I think it's like Acuna or something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe that
Cunha,
they
yeah.
have. I think it's like Acuna. I'm not sure who else they have, apart from that. But if, they want to really be pushing for something this season, Sevilla, Lopetegui could make, use with the likes of Reguilon. He already had a ton of success with Reguilon in the past. Reguilon's best ever season, was with Sevilla, and that was under Lopetegui when they did win the Europa League. So I feel like it could make sense, for Sevilla to use a bit of that cash. Perhaps, maybe 18 million, 20 million of that, goes towards, Reguilon. They bring him back to Sevilla, and then he'll probably stay there for quite a long time and be very happy. I could see that, working out, quite well. Maybe there aren't a lot of rumors that are suggesting that, but I feel like it just sort of makes sense.
And what I will say is I'll be very surprised if we take in Depay, considering our pursuit of Zaniolo. It doesn't make sense to bring both of them in, because if you think about it, you've got Kane's son, Kulusevski, you've got Lucas Moura and Richarlison. You only need one more. If you bring in Depay and Zaniolo, look, don't get me wrong, it'd be great to get to that sort of point of quality where one of them is kind of like a bit part player. But I don't think the club will put themselves in that position. I think, look, Zaniolo will be more likely. I'd forget about Depay coming to Tottenham. I think we'd probably be looking at, I'll be honest, I think we'll probably go to Barcelona and demand cash. I think Barcelona are probably putting it out there that maybe they'd like a swap deal, but I don't think we'd be that stupid or be suckered into it. Because we also have to remember, look at a lot of the players Barcelona have had there over the last year or two. They haven't exactly lit the world on fire. They haven't been great. There's been a lot of attitude problems coming out from behind the scenes and camps and stuff like that. I don't want them near my team. They're trouble.
Yeah, they are trouble, Dave. You're absolutely right. Lo Celso Villarreal negotiations, Dave, they have, kind of made an asking price, or at least, Fabrizio Romano has tweeted today, about Lo Celso, Dave. And, he did say that Villarreal are still in talks with Spurs for Gio Lo Celso, but the fee has not been fully agreed yet. And maybe the key emphasis there on fee. Villarreal are said to have reached a verbal agreement with Giovanni Lo Celso for a transfer from Tottenham this season. So personal terms likely agreed. It's just the fee has not been. With this fee being involved, does that then effectively end our interest in Pau Torres, Dave?
Yeah, Jack, it's the key word there is the fee. Look, if we want to Pau Torres, we'd be looking at doing a swap deal because they only done one today with Watford. Villarreal did. I think they got in your man Femini and they sent someone who's been there. I think I read like 15 years or something like that.
Yeah, Mario Gaspon.
Yeah, Gaspon. The other way. So they have been open to swap deals. It's not like they're a closed book on swap deals. So for me, look, I definitely don't think we're interested in Pau Torres anymore. I think that'll end the pursuit of Pau Torres. And I'd be happy to take a fee for him. Look, I'm happy to recruit and recuperate anything we can on some of these players because a lot of them have come here on big money and failed to deliver. And at the end of the day, I just want them off the books. So anything we can get for them. Look, with someone like Celso, I think you could actually demand in and around 20 million because he had a previous club, unlike Harry Winks, where he actually did well at Betis. He came through the ranks at PSG, done very well at Betis, and then got his move to Tottenham. So I do think we can command a fee for him somewhere in that sort of region, like we can't on Harry Winks because he doesn't have that club that he's played for before Tottenham. So for me, look, just get Lo Celso gone. Look, we all seen the reports that he was a knob around the training ground. Nobody liked him. So get him gone. We don't need him. He's going to ruin everything Conte's doing if we keep these guys around.
I think 20 million would be, a pretty good deal for us. On top of that, I know we're taking a huge hit for what we originally paid, but I think he's probably worth around that price. I think it's quite fair, actually. Dark Sun G saying Palace 3-0 to the Gooners for the first game of the season is his prediction. Vieira, he's already shown, the Lego man a lesson once before, Dark Sun G. Can he do it again? Dave, thoughts that he will?
Nah, he will. Look, if I'm Paddy Vieira, I'm gunning for that job. That job's mine. How dare? Look at what I've done for Arsenal. And this fraud who played for a few years on the fucking Wenger is in that position. He should be in that position. Look what he done with Palace last season. He's transferred them from Roy Hodgson defensive first to a team that can play ball. Zaha, Olise, Eduard, Benteke. They'll all be looking to get off the mark first game of the season. They'll be all looking to lay down a marker. And for me, it's not an easy game to play first game of the season.
No.
And I think Paddy Vieira wants that Arsenal job because, look, all you got to do is beat Arsenal a few times, put them under pressure, Arteta will be sacked. And then they will go after Patrick Vieira, considering what he's done. If you look at what he's done with Palace, with some of the young players, Eze as well, Oliseh, you look at Arsenal, there's likes of Lachonga there, Pepe and stuff like that. So maybe he could work with them. So I think he'll be looking to spank them 100%.
Yeah, there you go.
He wants that job.
Vieira wants
You
that
heard it here
job.
first.
He's been insulted by seeing the Lego man taking his job, Dark Sun G. Bottom Duda saying, good to see you back, David. Hopefully you're feeling better. Big up, Jack. Good to see you, Bottom Duda, my man. Hopefully all is good with you. But Dave, he's wishing you well. Man.
I hope life is treating you well as well, by the way. Hopefully life is good for you now, brother. Big yourself up and good to see you. And also, Lazy 8 saying I was going into David Harris withdrawal. Thank God that's over. Big up, Nick, my man. Thank you for helping out Jack and keeping it running while I've been lying there in pain, my man. Big yourself up, Nick. Huh?
I think Tabata has gone through a bit of withdrawal as well. I think he was going through a bit of withdrawal as well. Big up, brother. Hopefully you're all good, my man. It's good to see you in the chat. Really appreciate the donation. But last bit of news, Dave, and it's probably fitting that, we end it with a bit of Hill Messi. Yeah. Bryan Hill Messi potentially staying around, at least for the first week, at least for the first match day. Bryan Hill may have to stick around for the first match day with Richarlison being suspended for the first game. And that had to do with him, with that flare incident, I believe, Dave. And that might have been in the Gooner game, I believe, too, Dave.
No, it was against Chelsea. And funny enough, Chelsea. He's back for the second game against Chelsea away. Brilliant.
But yeah, he is suspended for the first game of the season, which would then mean, everybody, that potentially Lucas would be the only outfield sort of kind of player that we would have, or at least attacking, outfield player that we would have, to use. So it feels like then, Dave, Bryan Hill would sort of have to be included at least in case, things went wrong with, some injury or, let's say we're winning 4-0 and, you want to kind of take the players off. It kind of seems like, Bryan Hill is going to have to stick around for at least, the first week of play. If he had to be kept around, Dave, do you feel like he'll still end up going out on loan? Or do you think, he actually could stick around?
I'll be honest. Look, there's plenty of interest. I think Sampdoria, I think that was the Italian team that we're looking at maybe doing a deal for him, a loan deal. Look, I'll be honest. I think there's probably already one in place. But they've been told you have to wait until we get Richarlison back. There's just no way we're going to Southampton with only Lucas Moura off the bench. What I will say is, me personally, I would actually like to keep him around. Look, the same as Dane Mbappe last season. These guys were put out in Europa League teams with Ndombele, Ali, the Celso, a midfield who could not give a fuck. And these guys rely on that midfield getting them the ball. And they just did not do it. And they basically, for me, have been victims of the sort of toxicity and stuff we had. You also have to remember you had Harry Winks playing them games. Like you said earlier on to me on the phone, Jack, doesn't want to move anywhere, but then sits there crying anytime he doesn't get game time, use that as an excuse. Ben Davies was crying as well at the time in the press. Matt Doherty, and all these players, Sanchez, they were all playing these sort of games. And for me, I don't think they were given that sort of fair crack at the whip. And I think it'll be different this year, because they'll be playing. Like if the worst case scenario, he'd be playing with likes of Højbjerg, Bentancur, Richarlison, Lucas, proper professionals in and around him who will actually help and aid and develop his game. Look, I get people are saying he's not the strongest, but neither was Luka Modric. But what he does have, he has a good first touch, which buys him a lot of time. It buys him time on the ball. And for me, I'd rather keep him around and see what he can offer us in the sort of cup games and stuff like that, rather than loan him out to another Spanish side or to another Italian side. It's a complete different sort of game of football. If you can find him a championship club or lower league Premier League team where he's guaranteed maybe a Portsmouth or somewhere like that, guaranteed minutes, by all means do it. But if you can't, for me, keep him here. And I think you'll see a lot better player with the players that I've mentioned playing with him rather than the players that I've already mentioned that are now gone, But that's the biggest thing to take from it. They're gone. They're no longer here. And he still is. And that's because, so he wasn't given that fair crack at the whip, in my opinion. So for me, I would actually like to keep Gil Messi around. I'm a big believer. Gil Messi, fifth member of the Beatles, whatever you want to call him. I'm a believer, and so should all you be.
I don't know what else I can add to that, Dave. Beautifully said. Maybe just, he's in fine shape, Dave. He was actually, standing alongside, Sanchez, Papa Matasar and, Troy Parrott, with the fitness regime. He's been, working really hard. He loves to press, he loves to, make, a nuisance, for his defenders. There could be, some attributes of his that Conte might like, kind of that relentless sort of work rate, that tenacity with the way that he likes to press people. There could be something that Conte might like, about the kid. But there it is, everybody. That is the end of the news. I would say tomorrow you can have your chat and have your say on all the news, because we are going to be doing the fan show. So everybody, do grab that fan show membership if you haven't already. Dave and I will be back tomorrow morning, Eastern time in the USA, or kind of mid-afternoon in the UK, to be chatting with you guys about all the news that we've just spoken about. And maybe, who knows, maybe some extra news on top of it before, our big game against Jose in Israel. But that is, kind of the, the upcoming shows, and then on top of that, we have the watch along as well. As you always know, watch along for the Roma. And then on top of that, I think, sorry, I said that twice, but pre-match build up. Yeah. And then, plenty of content. I mean, Dave, three videos, 3 different live streams, to look forward to.
Plenty of content over the next few days, guys. So make sure you smash that notification button, put it on all so you get notified every time myself and Jack stream. I want to say a massive thank you to you guys out there for tuning in first and foremost. You are the lifeblood of this channel and you keep us going. So massive thank you to you. A massive thank you to everybody who has smashed the like, smashed the subscribe, and helps the channel with super chats. If you are on your way out, just please smash that like before you leave. And yeah, look, guys, if you want to communicate with myself and Jack Nora, as you can see, I'm very good lately. I am replying to all the comments. Those who've commented, no, get your comments in underneath. One of myself or Jack will be in there, and we will have a conversation with you on any of your thoughts you may have had on any of the news or anything we've said here. And if you are watching back after this is finished, feel free to use that. What is it, Jack? That super thanks.
Super thanks. Feel free to use the super thanks if you are watching this back. It is a great way to support the channel, and it is also a great way to guarantee that your comment gets responded to. But we always usually try to respond to the comments as best that we can. But it is a great way to support the channel if you are watching.
What I will say, there's still 316 watching, guys, and there's only 169 likes. Look, 69 is not a bad number, to be fair. But look, let's try and get it up to 300 likes. That would be awesome. And we'll take Rob Coyne's super chat here, and then we are on the way out. Big up, Rob, my man. Big yourself up. Hard luck with the Ireland this year, I must say. But he says, big up, Jack, and a bigger up, Mr. Harris. How did Sligo do tonight? We're going to see the Dirty Gooners play on a Thursday night in Sligo when they get done in Europa. Looking forward to the Roma game. Look, I think that Sligo were, they were 1-0 up going into today's game against Motherwell, which is a huge result for someone like Sligo Rovers. I'm not sure how they've been getting on because I've been streaming, Rob. But look, what I'll do is I'll go and do a bit of actually, I'll just type it in now and I'll let you know. 1 second, my man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Gooners getting slapped up in Europa League, Rob, and, also, those Thursday night trips, back home as well. No one likes them.
They won 2-0 today, so went through 3-0 on aggregate. Absolutely huge result, Robbie. Absolutely huge result. I know it's good for Irish football. Look, I'd like to see Irish football teams try and do well in Europe, my man. And yeah, look, hopefully they can take on Arsenal next and take them on. Because I'll tell you one thing, Arsenal, if they do draw Sligo, it is not a nice place to go on a Thursday night. It's fucking cold. The weather's shit. The wind is swirling everywhere. It's not a nice place to go in the evening times. So hopefully they do go there on Thursday night.
Sligo against the Gooners either. They're not going to play pretty football against the Gooners either. They're going to make it difficult for them. So that could be an interesting one for sure. And then, the Roma game, it's going to be beautiful, Rob. Hopefully you're going to be able to, watch it along with us. Like I said, watch along yet again, everybody. We will be running. So hopefully you can tag along with us, Rob. And Antonio Conte going to be taking down Jose.
I cannot wait. They've had a rivalry as well for quite some time. And look, we're going to beat them. We're a few weeks ahead in our fitness and everything else as well. But it'd be great to make Jose cry. But guys, we are out. Thank you very much for everybody. We'll be back here tomorrow. As always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
In Conte we trust. Season starts not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Get fucking ready.
In Conte we trust.